borrowed. The Sumerians didn't borrow nothing from them. They didn't exist yet. So I just hope y'all paying attention. But the point being is this deity's name was named Hawa. And remember, Eve's name is Hawa. And she's also known as Ninti, or ruler of life, or ruler of the rib. T didn't always mean life and rib, according to Sumerian doctrine. When she performed a surgery on a deity named Enki, who said his side hurts, she became known as the ruler of the rib. So thus T also took on a second definition as a homophone, meaning life or rib. Go to the next one. And no one creates anything without Mother Ninti being present. So we're going to read Sumerian mythology, a study of the 3rd millennium BC, revised and edition by Samuel Noah Cramer. Then her side, my brother, what hurts thee? Enki. My side hurts. Yeah, side? Because in Hebrew, the word Selah means rib or side. My side hurts. Then her side to the goddess. Then Zuma, I give birth for thee. Then her side, my brother, what hurts thee? Enki says, my rib hurts me. Then her side to the goddess Ninti, I give birth for thee. Then her side created Ninti. From that point forward, she did such a marvelous job. They entrusted her with the birth of the gods and the construction of human beings. Because the gods had a subsidiary group of gods called Igigi, according to Sumer, the place where their doctrine begins. This thing existed before them. Okay? The story existed before them. So what a coincidence, Eve's name we find in Sumer. What a coincidence, the word rib and side in Hebrew goes to a story where someone says their side hurts and someone was created to fix his rib. And then later those two got together to make man in these Sumerian tablets. Okay? And that's why the word Selah in Hebrew takes on a feminine connotation. Well, we're going to go to the next one. But this ain't enough. And I knew damn well they wouldn't know what I'm going to come with. How could you? You don't read nothing else. The word Yah has been identified as a word or term used to exalt someone or something. Even though we know in ancient Egypt, Yah was one of the most highly esteemed deities. We're going to bypass that, come more modernized Hebrew. Okay, we're going to say Yah is a form of exaltation. Remember, Eve's name is Hawa. Or some say Hawa. Now let's exalt Eve. Let's say Hawa means mother or living. So let's take Eve's name and say, oh, mother or living. What would we say? We would say Yahweh. We'd be praising the woman. So if you want to praise the woman, don't praise the woman indirectly, my man. Praise her directly. I'll go on her face and say, you are God. I'll bow down before my wife. I have no problem. She's great. The black woman is great. The black woman is God. If you're going to praise her and worship her, don't do it like they do in the Vatican. Don't treat our black woman as the black Madonna in a religious constitution or institution. But when you go to their website, it says Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. And look at those words right there. You're going to bypass blessing all that, get the blessings of God and His Son and all that. No. Let's just look at Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. These pleasant, beautiful words that they arrange, because they seem to know where the vowels belong. They found out where the vowels go. Cool. But you see in Yahweh right there, you worshiping the woman. Notice they cannot execute a blessing without confiding in the great mother. And here's an Almana tablet. Take note that the 3rd and 4th line have the symbol for T, meaning life in this context. Just showing you. So if you type in Almana tablet, you'll see the script come up and you'll understand that I'm not messing with your mind. Let's go to the next one. So again, the black woman is God again. Over and over. Now we're going to go to Raphael Patai, ethnographer and anthropologist. Hebrew goddess by Raphael Patai. It appears that the 370 years during which the Solomonic Temple stood in Jerusalem, for no less than 236 years, or almost 2/3 of the time, the statue of Asherah was present in the temple. Was present in the temple, and her worship was a part of the legitimate religion approved and led by the king, the court, and the priesthood, and opposed only by a few prophetic voices crying out against it at relatively long intervals. Let's go to the next one. Just wanted to get some other people to chime in on this stuff. We get black people, we get white people, we get everybody to attest that the black woman is God. Okay, so we're going to see situated in Mediterranean, today's northern Syria, Ugarit, second millennium Canaanite port city was the site of a major excavation in 1928 that unearthed a veritable treasure of cuneiform alphabetic text located in modern-day Ras Shamra. The ancient tablets date back to the 14th century BCE and had text very similar to ancient Hebrew and Aramaic. But this doesn't mean that it comes from them. It's just similar. But of course they would say they got that from us. But we're going to go into how this is a nomadic race that we're trying to make our nationality. These people never had a home, you know. These so-called Hebrews never had a place to stay. They got so sophisticated, they start calling them just tabernacles. Movable habitations. They're moving their house all over the place. No man. These were the trailer park trash of society back in the day. They were nomads. And they come from Iraq initially. And what is an Arab? What's the word for car out of it? Arabia. Again, moving around all the time. When they saw Abraham cross over Chaldea, what did they say? Crossover. Crossover Negroes. Let's go to the next one. I'm a key teacher. I'm with you. So we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 25. The Bible has 40 references for Asherah, female goddess, until they started moving her out the way. Because your God actually had a wife. And he dealt with the physical things. And she dealt with the incorporeal. He dealt with the objective and she dealt with the subjective. And you are handicapped if you don't deal with both principles. You don't use one to oppress the other. Jeremiah 44:25. Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, you and your wives have spoken with your mouths and fulfilled with your hands, saying, we will surely keep our vows that we have made to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven. Have you ever heard anyone tell you about the Queen of Heaven? Anybody that teaches you about the Bible, have they ever told you about a Queen of Heaven? Isn't this God's house? Didn't they say God's a man? How can God be considered a queen in heaven if he's a man? Yeah. Just in case you think I made up the word queen, the Hebrew word is Malcolm, and you'll see it here, H4446. Hebrew Concordance, look it up. It's not a play on words. It's not part of my imagination. It's not allegory. It's not symbolism. It's not a parable. The black woman is God. Black woman is God. Let's go to the next one. There you go. Let's go next one, baby. Or something breaking here. Look at the breastfeeding. The word Shaddai is used in the Bible for God. When they talk about calling on the Lord, they call him El Shaddai. Right. Shaddai means Almighty, but that's a poor translation. Now, if you know something about Hebrew, it has ideographic and pictographic meanings. And thus the letters that make up the word interprets what composition it has by way of gender. Like, I'll give you an example. In ancient Egypt, if you had a T at the end of the word in ancient Egypt, it denoted some kind of femininity, like Ma'at, Renintet, Sishat, Mabdet, Anuket, Amunet. It was always feminine and masculine principles, and they're used in language quite often. So let's not play, and that's where they got it from in their language. But we're gonna look at the word Shaddai, okay? And we see the concordance number is 7706. Well, look at this. The word shed in English is breast. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. Let's reverse. When they call on God as El Shaddai, it is made up of a Sheen, a Daleth, and a Yall. Sheen pictographically means teeth. Looks like this. Daleth means knob or nipple. Yod means hand. So you got a word that is made up of teeth, nipple, and hand. When have you seen those three together? When breastfeeding. The word they use for God is made up of letters that allude to a teeth on a nipple with the use of a hand. But you might be saying, polite, you just playing with the letters, yo. So I'm gonna ask you, if God's name is Shaddai in the Bible, what's the word for breast? Shed. And if it's plural, Shedi'im. So just by coincidence, not only are the letters alluding to the fact that God is a female, because God has breasts. The very word breast is inside the word God. It's not, I'm not stretching or reaching. Why? Because you get something in your breast milk that only your mother can give you. So when we start confiding in our Creator, the great mother, the Queen of Heaven, she can only give her children something that no one else can give her. I'm gonna convert y'all niggas in here. All who was left that didn't attest to the black woman being God, you're gonna be converted today. And you're gonna have questions for them and ask them, why didn't they teach you about the Queen of Heaven? Why didn't they teach you about Asherah? Why did you steal Eve's legacy as Hawa and misrepresent her when we know it's Sumeria? She's Ninhawa. Why did you tell me that the rib came out of man when we see in Sumer the same geographical location you said your story comes from, but the people existed before you there? We see that the word rib inside in Hebrew, Selah, comes from the story of a person whose side was hurting and they needed rib surgery. They have to answer these questions. They have to answer these questions. Don't let them come up here and do a dissertation on polite, or teach whatever they want to teach when they get up here. Right. We don't give a hell about feed the family, feed the food. We could join Red Cross if we want to join somebody that's giving food to the people. That wouldn't make Red Cross religious incentive accurate. If you're feeding the black community, keep feeding them. I support you on that. But it don't make your doctrine right. You're not going to get sympathy from me trying to oppress our women.